You might think a man who travels with people who call him king, who drives around with a police escort, and who rides in the back of a Rolls-Royce limo is a member of Nigeria's corrupt class. But Muhammadu Sanusi is one of Nigeria's most progressive voices.
In Nigeria, there's no accountability at all. And that's why I think Nigerian corruption is worse than corruption in many parts of the world, because it's the worst type of corruption. It's stealing.
Sanusi is the Emir of Kano, Nigeria's second highest Islamic authority. But he's most famous for what he did wearing a suit.
We don't have development because vested interests continue to rape this country and continue to take the money out.
That's a TEDx conference in 2013 when Sanusi was Nigeria's central bank governor. He accused former President Goodluck Jonathan, former petroleum minister Daisani Alison Madueke, and the federal government of looting $20 billion of the country's oil wealth. In response to his whistleblowing, he was fired.
Frankly, I think $1 billion a month under Jonathan was about what we were losing.
Nigeria is Africa's richest country because of oil, but the oil deals are as opaque as the oil being exported. U.S. and British officials told us Alison Madueke might have personally overseen the stealing of $6 billion, the most common method, awarding oil contracts to companies owned by friends.
Basically, all it does is allows a group of people who themselves don't have any kind of operating background to pay $50 million, okay, for access to the crude oil in blocks valued at over $2 billion. And they just take the crude, ship it out, and don't return the money. And there is no trace of where the money has gone.
The second way to steal was by literally making oil on ships disappear. We obtained this document that shows in February 2014, of 32 ships carrying Nigerian oil, 19, nearly 60%, didn't deliver the same amount of oil they picked up.
Someone gets a contract to lift crude from the terminals to the refineries, and in between, that crude is stolen. It's stolen in the high seas.
Alison Madueke's lawyer declined to speak to PBS NewsHour, but in London, where she's recovering from cancer treatment, she told a Nigerian journalist, quote, "How can 20 billion disappear? I challenge anyone to come forward with facts showing I stole government or public money. I've never stolen Nigeria's money."
If she goes to court and she's jailed, for example, it sends a signal, I think, that there is a day of reckoning.
President Muhammadu Buhari has promised that day of reckoning. He was elected on a platform of fighting corruption.
President Buhari's campaign against high-level corruption began on this street and this house, or more like this mansion. This is where the former National Security Advisor lives, and armed soldiers arrived here and took away 5 bulletproof cars, 7 assault rifles, and arrested the former National Security Advisor for having them.
But Sambo Dasuki isn't only accused of hoarding his own weapons. He is accused of stealing billions of dollars from the military when he was supposed to be supplying them with weapons.
They make money instead of fighting the bad boys. They are not giving us that money. That's the corruption now.
This man is an active-duty Nigerian soldier. He was on the front lines against Boko Haram when he was shot through the knee.
People firing from both left and right. We had so many casualties.
He says he and his men were so short of resources, their weapons didn't have bullets, and their trucks didn't have gas.
There wasn't fuel in the vehicles.
You had to donate money even just to fill the truck with fuel.
The commanders came out categorically telling us that there is no fuel and they don't have money. It's either they will leave us there to die or we'll find an alternative.
It appears Dasuki had the money. This document obtained by PBS NewsHour is a request by Dasuki's office for $47 million. A Nigerian official says the money left the central bank in cash at night in armored vans. A second document shows Daisani Alison Madueke's name on the bottom. This transfer was for $289 million to the National Intelligence Agency. The problem with that, the official National Intelligence Agency budget was only $160 million.
There's no doubt that situation is strongly linked with corruption.
Professor Bolaji Owasanoi advises Buhari on how to combat high-level corruption.
because money that was appropriated was not being used for purpose. That's why I said corruption weakened and escalated our insecurity, because money that was appropriated for weapons, for welfare, it wasn't getting to base.
Dasuki has denied the charges. His lawyer, Raji Ahmed, declined to be interviewed on camera, but he told me, quote, all the procurements were made at the request of the military. They identified the contracts or the suppliers, and Dasuki merely sought the approval of the president. That explanation doesn't satisfy the new government.
Those who have looted public funds are going to be prosecuted, and those funds are going to be recovered.